continue. So I showed you last week, last week, I gave you two examples for continental flat basalts. That was the Etendeka and the Panama flat basalt in South America and Namibia. And the other example that was in India, the Deccan. So in the Deccan, I told you that it's actually a hotspot, and this hotspot is sitting nowadays beneath Réunion. So and now something to the chemistry from continental flat basalts. So the continental flat basalts that these are our CFBs. So and they are actually also toluids. Yes, you know by now what toluids are. And they are in main elements, or you can also say major elements, yeah, like calcium, potassium, sodium, magnesium, all these elements which you need to form a mineral. So in main element chemistry, the continental flat basalts are plus minus more. So like the Middle Ocean ridge basalts. So and if we are looking at trace elements, they are plus minus OIBs. These are the ocean island basalts. So but that means they are enriched. So and they are actually more enriched like the ocean island basalts, and now we have to think about why they are so more enriched in certain elements like the potassium group elements compared to the ocean island basalts. Therefore, we made now the next picture. So at first we need some continental crust. No, for blue we need for the water, red we need for the plume, green for the oceanic crust. Then we make this purple. So here we have now something which we are calling the continental crust, CC. So and now we are adding here to our continental crust, we are adding a passive rift system. What is a passive rift system? That is when we have a continental shelf added to our continental crust, like Africa. Africa is surrounded by a passive rift system, so that means you do not have actually a subduction zone. So we are adding then here just some oceanic crust, and here between, so that is OC for oceanic crust. So and here between we have our Middle Ocean ridge. So and we discussed by now the Middle Ocean ridge basalts. So and now we are going to the other side, like it looks like in the Andes. There we have here the subduction of an oceanic crust. So, OC. So, and then here we have then just the ocean, that is the oceanic water. So, and here below, we have then the boundary in the depth of 660 kilometers. So that the 660 kilometers, you know by now there we have a seismic discontinuity. And here we have then, or we are forming our middle ocean ridge basalt. We have discussed this by now. And the middle ocean ridge basalt is depleted, yeah? It is depleted and it is in the main elements, and you know this from your exercise, very close to the chondrite. So, and now we have discussed by now also the ocean island basalts, yeah? So, in the ocean island basalts, they are enriched. So, something like here. So, and they are enriched in trace elements compared to more, because we have here a plumb component, and this plumb component, we discussed there, or I discussed it. We have here an influx from the lower mantle, but that is not clear. Or we have here just the melting and recycling from old subducted slabs hanging around there, yeah? They can hang around here at the boundary between the lower mantle and the upper mantle, but they can even become, even sink deeper till to the core mantle boundary. So now we have the continental flat basalts. So and it is called the continental flat basalt because it's here. So and this continental flat basalt, make then also maybe in orange, I don't know. Here we have our continental flat basalt, CFB. So that is then the ball here. That is the OI. That is the continental flat basalt. And the continental flat basalt comes then also the melt somewhere from here. Yeah? Therefore, the continental flat basalt is in trace elements enriched compared to wall. So, but now we have the next thing. Why do you think is the continental flat basalt also more enriched compared to oil in certain elements, like the potassium group elements? If we are looking for last week's example, yeah, for the Deccan trap, where we in India. So then I told you that the hot spot which formed this continental flat basalts in India is nowadays beneath Réunion. So in Réunion is volcanic active. So but the basalts or tollites which you will find in Réunion are depleted compared to those which you find India or sitting on the continental crust. So that because there you have assimilation and fractionation while the melt is going through the continental crust, then you are melting some stuff from the continental crust, and you know that the continental crust is enriched, for example, silica, continental crust 70% silica, oceanic crust 45% silica, then the continental crust is enriched in potassium. You can, and you have the potassium, I mean, in feldspar and in biotite, In the oceanic crust, you do not have any feldspar. From time to time, you can find the biotite, but it is also not that much. So, and therefore, the continental flat basalt is enriched in those elements compared to oil. So, and then we have here the next guys. Here, these are the AFCs. So an AFC, that means assimilation, fractionation, and crystallization. They are also enriched, but the melt is coming here from the slab. So because our slab starts to melt here, So when this melt is produced, or it starts to melt, when the muscovite breaks down, and you know the muscovite, you know this from ES303, that is a mica, that is a dioctaedral mica, contains one OH2 group, and is then fractionating. No, it's not fractionating, it's just dehydrating, and then you will form the first melt. So that is just such a picture showing us we have discussed now this guy. We will finish with the continental flat basalts today. We have discussed the oiks, we have discussed the warps, and we will start with the AFCs today. So can I remove this picture? Yes. Or maybe not. Maybe I should write here some things and explain it by using the picture. Yes. So then we have the next thing. If we are producing a mantle plume, for example this one, so then we have here the mantle plume, so when such a mantle plume causes lithospheric thinning, that causes lithospheric thinning due to melting. So what means this? You have here a melt, and this melt will rise up because you have a density contrast. The melt has a lower density compared to the surrounding metal material, therefore it will rise up. So and therefore you will thin out the lithosphere. So and therefore this your mantle plume becomes then more and more enriched in certain elements. And of course, if it runs then here through the continental through the continental crust, then you will enrich it more and more in incompatible elements like the potassium group elements. So then the competent elements are up to 10 times enriched compared to more. Competent elements like potassium. So then we have incompatible elements. So there is not competent elements, there is compatible elements. So and here we have the incompatible elements. Elements are up to 50 times enriched compared to more. So, but now I can remove it, yeah? So, so if we are checking the isotopes from continental flat basalts, then it looks like follows. So you notice this I will just make a sketch of a spider diagram. So then we are starting here in front with the light rare earth elements, strontium, but we are putting there also the potassium. So, and then for example, as next, I put here the rubidium and the barium. So, and then there are a whole sequence of different elements. We are starting always at the beginning with the light rare earth elements. These are lithophile elements. Actually, you are starting here always with lambda, yeah? Or you can also start, if you are plotting it compared to primitive metal, then you can also do the thorium inside and do uranium. It's always up to you, it depends just what you like to show. So, but here I just would like to show how this looks like for the continental flat basalt compared to more. So, and here at the end, you have then all these elements which are a bit bigger and heavier. So these are then the heavy rare earth elements. So, but you are putting then also the titanium inside, and here, for example, the Iberium. No, that's the yttrium. So, and then we have here a straight line, and here one. So, in this straight line, that is just more. So, and that means we have here just a sample. Normalized to more, yeah? So, and now we are just checking this. So, and if we have here this strontium, potassium, barium, is more something like this, yeah, that is then compared to more, it is enriched, yeah. So, because if we have it here on warp scale, then it would just plot nearly to the one line, yeah. So, but they are enriched. So, if you are checking, for example, the decantra, I mean, Neil has uploaded the book here with all the examples and all the things. I have this from this book which you have on Moodle. So, and then you can compare maybe the various elements from New York compared to the decantra in India. I told you that both are formed by the same hotspot, but on the other hand, you have the contamination with the continental crust, and the continental crust is enriched in this element. So, but then I gave you also as an example the Etendeca and the Panama flat basalts. So, and the isotopes from them look like as follow. So, we have here in this example, we have strontium 87 to strontium 86. So, and here the author has plotted neodymium 143. Yep. Neodymium 144. So, and when we discussed this Panama and the ethane Deca, then I told you we have there the high phosphor titanium basalts and the low phosphor titanium basalts, yeah? So, and I told you as well that the high phosphor titanium basalts are formed at higher temperatures and the low phosphor titanium basalts are formed at lower temperatures. So, and you know this by now because we discussed this last week. You have only to check your CIPW norm and then you know that you are starting at first to crystallize the apatite, yeah? And then the ilmenite. So, and in the isotope diagram now we have to just put in somehow the things here that looks like so. So they have just measured there a lot of rocks, maybe not like this. Maybe like this. So, and this is then the isotopic ratio here for the low phosphor titanium Panama. So then we need the high phosphor titanium Panama. And this plots then here. So, and here in this field, which I'm drawing just now, so that is the ethane Deca. So what shows this diagram? That shows us that we have the same basalt actually. I mean, that is, I showed you this before, but different melting rates and different, well, they are showing different contamination with the continental crust. So, and this ratio here, the 87 strontium to 86 strontium and the neodymium, shows us also that these are not components from the lower mantle. These are components from the contamination with the continental crust. Let us just write this here. So enriched mantle component eventually not from the deep mantle probably due to contamination caused by lithospheric thinning. So that is just when we are talking, or I'm talking about lithospheric thinning, that is just the contamination with the continental crust. So we have this plus mantle, plus upper mantle main. Upper mantle. So then you get also an enriched basalt. So but now we have this here. So we have lithospheric thinning plus upper mantle component. That is one idea. So but then there are other isotopes which we can use. For example, the oxygen isotopes. So I can remove this, yeah. So and then we are just writing here not too much contamination with the continental crust indicated by delta O18. So these are just the oxygen isotopes I told you. We have a variation between delta O18 and delta O16 because delta O18 values are not enough. So because if you are measuring the delta over 18 values from the continental crust, then you're getting higher values compared to those from the Earth's mantle. Yeah? And these are different methods which you can use to identify where the source, for example, from your continental flat basalt comes from. How much crustal contamination is involved. For you as an ES303 student, you should just remember we have there a continental flat basalt, and this continental flat basalt is much more enriched in main elements and in trace elements compared to the mid-ocean rich basalt and to the ocean island basalt, because you have the contamination with the continental crust. So, but there's still this to discuss, where does the enrichment or how much contamination from the continental crust is involved. So therefore, for example, you are measuring then the oxygen isotopes. So, and therefore, scientists has developed an idea for continental flat basalts, and that is just the AFC. So, and that is, as I told you before, A for assimilation, F for fractionation, and C for crystallization. So, and the heat to produce this, necessary heat, will be produced in the lower crust. So, and of course, if you add then some water, for example in the subduction zone or something like this, then you will start to produce melt much easier and earlier and at lower temperatures. So that was so far the most important things for the continental flat basalts. So you know by now what is assimilation, fractionation and crystallization. I saw it in the test which you have written. Most of you, so actually all have answered this correctly. So and therefore you are using just these few tool sets, what we have done before the midterm break, to explain, for example, the CFBs, the OIBs and the WOBs. I can remove this. Now we are getting the next pictures, because pictures are always better. So, and now we are talking about rifts. So I told you, I see in class, the biggest rift system on Earth, that is the East African Rift. So, and the East African Rift starts in Saudi Arabia, goes then through Kenya, then through Tanzania, and then through Mozambique, and there it stops. The whole thing is then also called the Mozambique Belt. So now we have to differ two rift systems. So we have continental rifts, and there we have the first one, A, that is an active rift. So, and an active rift, for example, this you can find in East Africa, in the western part. So, in such an active rift system that is caused by a diapir or by a rise up from an hotspot. So, and that looks like this. So, and there you have here then just these flanks. Yeah, something like this. So and now we have here a diapir or a plum which is rising up. Looks then like this. How does it look like? Like this. So in this diapir, is rising up. So and here this boundary, here we have the L, and you know the L is for lithosphere, and here we have the asthenosphere. That means here we are sitting in the mantle. Mantle. So and that is caused then, here we are calling this a plume. And that is a deep mantle upwelling. So, and due to this, it is rising up, and then it is lifting up the continental crust or the oceanic crust, and then you have an active rift system. So, and if we have here an oceanic rift, is produced by a hotspot. As when we have a continental rift, then we have a diapir. So, in the rocks which are produced here, these are then basic or mafic rocks. Rocks are mafic / basic, you know by now it means the same. So that they are silica undersaturated. And examples therefore are the East African rift, that is the East African rift in the western part. Then it's the Rhine Valley, in Germany, so and then the Baikal Rift in Russia. So, and there in this active rift zones, they are low, showing a low volcanic activity. So that is the active rift. So this is the active rift. So and now we are coming to the next example, and that is then the passive rift. I can remove this, yeah? And that is then example B. B is a passive rift. So, and that looks then different. And that looks like as follows. We are not producing here a dome. And the boundary between the lithosphere and the asthenosphere, that looks then also different. So then we have here the lithosphere, the asthenosphere. So and then we have here just tectonic movement. That means this plate or this part, we are pushing it to the, or pulling it to the right, and this one to the left. So, and due to this movement from these two plates, you are creating here a passive lift, and therefore you have a decompression there, yeah? You have a decompression, and then partial melting will start from your material here, and then it will just rise up. So there we have the partial melting. Then we are rising this up. And here we are producing then another melt. So the melt here, that is, or rocks are intermediate to felsig. Yes, before we in the active rift system, we are producing more mafic melts, and here we have then a more intermediate to felsig melt. And examples are that is then the East African rift in the east, so then another example that is in Ethiopia. And we have high volcanic activity. So that is mainly the main difference between that is actually how an active rift system looks like and how a passive rift system looks like. So then we can remove this. And now I will give you an example from the East African rift. Because in the East African rift, I told you, in the east of the East African rift, we have more intermediate to felsic rocks caused by passive rifting. And in the western part of the East African rift system, we have basic rocks, and they are caused by an active rift. So then we are making this example. East African rift. So the East African rift that looks like follow. Like this. So then we have here just a part from Africa. We have to write it there because otherwise you cannot recognize it. So, but that is, and here we have our rift system. So, and then we have here that is the east rift. So, and here we have then the west rift. So in the west rift, that is the more basic. And here it is more felsig. So, and if you are going here upwards, then you are coming finally to the Red Sea. You know this, yeah? And the basalts of the Red Sea showing warp character. So that means if they are showing warp character, then we have there a middle ocean ridge basalt. So if we are going then down here, then we have a rift system producing here basic rocks and here felsic rocks. So, and here in the west rift system, we have additionally a negative heavy anomaly. So that shows we have here really two different melt. So, and if we have here our felsic rocks and here our mafic rocks, that means at first that we have different sources in the mantle. Different sources in the mantle in the east and west rift. So, but if we have now, why should we have there in such a small scale different sources in the mantle? So, and I mean these rocks are there on all of Archean age. They are ranging between 2.5 and 2.9 billion years. They are all granites. So, and why? That is then also no contamination with the crust here. Yeah? Contamination with the crust is in both cases the same. So, and it cannot be explained different sources in the mantle in the east and west drift. Question mark. So, convective or convection or convective asthenosphere. Cannot explain this phenomena. So what do you think it can, what else can you have? Which further components do you have? I mean, you have the continental crust, and what is below? The subcontinental mantle. So, and the subcontinental mantle can be of different thickness. So that means further components is then from the lithosphere. So and therefore beneath our lithosphere, our granites from the continental crust, you have the subcontinental mantle. Or as I have written here, SCL, and that is then subcontinental lithosphere. So, and then it depends on which composition or of which composition your lithosphere is and how thick this subcontinental lithosphere is. So, and of course, then you have again contamination, and then you will change the chemistry from your rift in the west compared to the east. So now something to write again. I can remove this. Or another example. Here we are making now another picture. From the Rio Grande Rift. So now, but at first, another picture. Before the Rio Grande Rift, there is the picture from the subcontinental mantle. Therefore, I have the subcontinental lithosphere. So there we have this block diagram. So, and at the top of this block diagram, we are just putting a volcano. So, and you know, there is one very huge volcano in Kenya, and that is Kilimanjaro. So, and the Kilimanjaro belongs before the First World War to Tanzania. And then it was a present to the Queen of England, and then now it is, belongs to Kenya. And if you are looking the map from Africa, I mean in Africa this map it's totally strange. You have always these totally straight boundaries, yeah? Because that was all caused by the British. So and there is Mount Kilimanjaro, but one famous beer in Tanzania is still called Kilimanjaro beer. I had it always when I went there to the field. So, and that is then active, yeah. So, and now we are putting there our subcontinental lithosphere. So, and our subcontinent lithosphere here is granitic. Therefore, the crosses that is actually here the continental lithosphere, and the subcontinental lithosphere is below. Sorry for this. SCL. And then you have here the rise up of a first plume, which is coming here. Plume A. So, and then you have here the next enrichment. So, and here you have then the next enrichment. So, and in such a subcontinental lithosphere, subcontinental lithosphere causes higher strontium isotope ratios. So that is then the ratio between strontium 87 to strontium 86. So, and therefore you can then figure out if there is a subcontinental lithosphere or not. So, but why do we have So why do we have here higher strontium ratios in the subcontinental lithosphere? That is SCL becomes enriched over the past 4.5 GA. So why is this? Because 4.5 billion years ago we did not have any subcontinental lithosphere, yeah? So if you are having older rocks, then your subcontinental lithosphere is growing. Yeah, we discussed this also in the ES301 class when we discussed the preservation of the diamonds. Then you know that the subcontinental lithosphere is growing over time. Yeah, because our lithosphere above is cooling down and becomes then more and more thick. Yeah. So, and if you have then a higher subcontinental lithosphere, then you have there higher Strontium ratios. So now the last picture for today, that is then another possibility of the formation of a rift, or the formation of a rift where we have on the other hand, we have felsic magmas or felsic rocks, and on the other hand, we have mafic rocks. So, but you got this now with the subcontinental lithosphere, you have just another contamination, yeah? So, and that is the Rio Grande rift. So, and the Rio Grande rift is a textbook example for binodal volcanism. So, and here we have this so, yeah, a little bit hilly, yeah. So, there you have some faults, yeah. So, and now we need a magma chamber. So that looks, and here we have an exit. So that is here an exit. So, and here we have a nice volcano. Maybe like this. And here we have another exit. So in this exit I'm making in black. So and here maybe below we are putting some additional material inside. So that looks now like this typical music instrument from Scotland. So and here we are making something also in black. So, but here I made red crosses. So we have here red crosses and here we have black stuff. So and here we're making a plum. Inside, yeah, we have melt, which is rising up. So and when I'm making here these red crosses, then you know what kind of rock will it later form. That will form a Felsenbrock, yeah? So then we are producing on this side Felsenbrocks. Rocks. So and if there is a volcano and we have here a melt of granitic composition, and but we are looking for the volcanic equivalent to the granite, then we are producing what is done. You are producing a rhyolite. So and here we are, I make a black signature, then we are producing here not a rhyolite, we are producing here on this side a wavy cross. So and do you have an idea why we are producing on this side Felsenbrocks and on the other side wavy cross? That is because mafic minerals sinking to the bottom of the magma chamber. Yes, we did this also before when we talked about or discussed about the Stokes law. Yeah, and there I told you often phases like plagioclase, they will swim up or floating up, whereas heavy minerals like olivine, orchite, they are sinking to the ground. So and therefore you have here in the Rio Grande Rift, on this side here in the east, no, in the west you have felsic rocks, felsic volcanic rocks, whereas here in the east you have waving volcanic rocks. So then we are done for today. Or maybe I have here something, moment. No, that's for today.